Cancer, hi, how are you? Sorry, Cancer. I just spent like 10 minutes just fully fidgeting with like everything in the background. Usually it doesn't bother me like at all, but for some reason I just like couldn't stop staring at like tiny little bits of clutter. Like a small little lighter, for example, and just like really tiny things that they're not that noticeable, but for some reason it was just annoying me. So you understand, Cancer, you're a home bird. You understand the need to clear the space and make sure it's all comfy and cozy and, you know, in alignment with how your emotions are feeling at the minute. 8 of Wands. So this is really fast-paced change, right? It's no hesitation, eye on the prize, 150 miles per hour. And I'm really being drawn to the fact of, you see like this kind of vortex or whirlpool of energy behind this horse right here. And then actually, I don't think it'll show on the camera, but right in the center of this horse's third eye, there's like a huge spiral, which is obviously reflecting like this whole kind of vortex stuff that we've got going on in the background here. So I do want to say, Cancer, that it feels like in the last few months specifically, everything is just completely done like a 360. Like everything's changed on like a very core level. Something about like your actual belief system or your ethics, your moral standing, something about your nature, right? Because horses always represent the wild nature, right? It's sort of like the untamed nature of humanity before we were sort of broken in, you know, like when they break in wild horses, you know, when a wild horse is just free to live in its environment, it's free to just carry out its natural behaviors and just be its pure essence, unbridled, uncontained, all of that good stuff. And then it's kind of like us as children, and then obviously as we grow older, life experiences, people around us, society kind of shapes us into something, and it's not always necessarily in alignment with who we actually are. That ends up with like lots of layers of illusion or just confusion that we end up telling ourselves. We end up trying to fit in with a certain demographic of people or a certain culture or a certain movement or a certain trend, right? And you've obviously been on one very set specific path for a good long time, but suddenly all of that's changed quite recently, and your whole sort of reality here has done this massive sort of shape-shifting energy and just completely kind of flipped on its head, or you've been truly inspired by something and it's driving you down a very specific path. Isis of the Rainbows. I mean, when I look at this, I'm sort of just hearing like you've struck gold, or like Cancer's struck gold dust, because I'm being really drawn to this rainbow here that she's holding in her hand. It's like something brand new has just like completely entranced you, completely like shifted your perspective. Like I said before, you were kind of looking in one direction, or you were heading in one direction, and something's happened and it's caused this shift in your perception or your direction of your attention, your thoughts, like I said, your inspirations, the path that you were sort of heading down for a long time. And suddenly you're kind of entranced by something else over here. And this is sort of reflected here as well. Like, you know, she has this scepter in one hand, but all of her thoughts and her focus and her energy are placed here on this rainbow, right? So it's almost like you've shifted from something very earthly, or that required a very earthly response in you. Show up, do your thing, being very present, maybe mechanical, right? Because the shadow side of Earth can be very mechanical, right? It can be just sort of that kind of, you know, that sort of Taurian energy of like showing up, always being there, always being present, but there not being much feeling or emotion or inspiration attached to it, right? That's the shadow side. And you're Cancer, right? You're the moon. You are cardinal water. So your waters are always in movement. And when your waters get stagnant, you lose luster for life, right? You lose any sort of energy store that you have, and your batteries just end up getting completely drained. Your waters end up becoming dark and shadowy, right? Because you don't have this, you need that constant channeling, that constant light from the moon to kind of lift your gaze. And, you know, you need that sort of certain amount of enchantment in your world, right? To feel healthy and to feel happy. Sorry, I just need a sip of my tea, Cancer, sorry. So it's sort of like you've shifted from this earthly, mundane, mechanical, sort of being a robot in the factory kind of position or outlook, or just not quite being awake or aware, you know, just kind of being very much in auto mode, to suddenly there's like this whole new inspiring, colourful, dreamlike, playful world that has just opened its doors to you, or you've just discovered, perhaps you stumbled upon it on the internet, or you went to something in your community and you've, you know, discovered a new part of yourself, a new part of inspiration within you that you want to really venture down, or you've happened across a belief system that really resonates with you, or a community project at large that you can actually get involved with, and that's started to spur you into action, spur you into this sort of, I want to be a part of this, I want to channel my energy into this. You know, there's so many different things that it could be, but something about it has like truly just, you've just like flipped the switch, and it's like you don't care about anything else that you were doing before now. It's like all your focus is on this thing and you're just running 110 miles per hour. And I want to say that that is the correct way to go, Cancer, definitely. So let's get a bit more. My lovely little moon babies. By the way, this is good for if you're Cancer, Sun or Moon, just so you know. Right, I'm going to take those two. So, you had the Four of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles. There's something polluting, right? Bear with me, Cancer. There's something polluting or toxic that you might have been involved in, or you might have been contributing towards, that you're now realizing, I don't want to play a part in it anymore. And the reason why I say that, I know obviously this is Four of Wands and Knight of Pentacles, but I read these as specifically this deck, actually I really read it intuitively, because the pictures are just far too artistic and just beautiful and fantastical to just read the plain common definitions. I do it with all of my decks, but I find that this one particularly calls for a very intuitive form of reading. And I'm really just drawn to, you see all like these fruits hanging from the trees, right? And then this individual here is like really focused on this pond, but it looks polluted, it looks damaged in some way, or that's how it's appearing right now. So I'm just really being drawn to this idea of like some sort of toxicity, a toxic thought, a toxic project, a toxic environment that you were involved in. As I said, you know, here Cancer was just very much, you know, on autopilot. You were like in a very mechanical state of being, like almost like being slightly asleep, you know, like just kind of, like I said, just showing up, doing what you're doing, not questioning too much, not really thinking too much, just kind of being, you know, almost like and take no offense to this, Cancer, like, because I do not mean it in this way, but you know how society is at the minute, right? We can often end up falling into sort of like a very zombie-like attitude, like we just sort of get up, we go to our job, we do our thing, and then we come home and then we're tired and, you know, we just kind of sit on our phones or whatever, you know, it's that kind of a, like, it's just very mechanical, right? No two ways about it. And it's almost like something has made you recently realize this is not the way to go, this is not the way to be, and it's like spurred you into action because something about it has caused some sort of pollutant. And I want to say like almost like a pollutant in the body, right? Because you see how she's just naked here, she's like completely bare-breasted, you know, so, and you know, she's kind of like blue as well, which is kind of now making me think that, you know, some sort of toxin in the body or some sort of ailment maybe might have manifested for you recently, Cancer, that, you know, you might have got a medical diagnosis, you might have ended up with symptoms of something. And if you have Cancer, then my heart goes out to you, and I really hope that, you know, perhaps whatever this journey is that you're on at the minute is going to lead you to something where you're going to feel 10 times better, right? Because often when we get disease in the body, right, or we get sick, or our energy levels get completely depleted, or we end up with symptoms appearing in our body and they just come out of nowhere seemingly, it's really a way of the universe to kind of make us stop and stand still for a minute and actually sort of snap out of something, you know, like snap out of a sort of routine, kind of snap out of being asleep, right? Snap out of toxic bad habits, right? This, you know, element of this toxicity or a pollutant. And it's almost like you've become aware of that recently, Cancer, because something might have manifested physically in your body. And, you know, the word dis-ease, literally, you know, if we break up the D-I-S and the ease, it's almost representative, or they say anyway, of, you know, the spirit being at dis-ease, as in like being at unrest or being uneasy. And that's why things manifest in the body. So it might be that, you know, you have or have had recently or throughout your life, throughout your time here so far on Earth, or perhaps just a specific period of time recently, you might have been dependent on something, a substance, or you might have, you know, had poor eating habits, or you might not have been able to move or exercise your body in the way that it needs to. Absolutely no shade whatsoever, Cancer. I am in absolutely no judgment of anyone. You know, we're all on our own paths and we all have our own things that we're fighting, our own issues that we're trying to resolve within ourselves, right? But it's that constant movement, that constant striving for change and for bettering ourselves, and that constant evolution, right? The wheel of time, that constant evolution, that pulsing chi energy, right? You see all this yellow here? That's all the solar plexus, right? I do hope that's right. Solar plexus, yeah. Sacral's orange, right? Forgive me either way. But, you know, it's all that energy here, right? That drives us, that is our expression of the self, which was pretty much what I was saying right at the start, right? And I'm certain it is the solar plexus. But it's all that kind of, sorry, my foot just completely squeaked on the floor then. I promise you it did. It's all that like chi, that kind of life force, that energy, that prana, right? And like I said before, it's almost like your batteries have died because, Cancer, you're meant to be in this state of inspiration, right? This state of artistic movement. You're the moon, right? It's like literally inspiration in the esoteric. I've said this many times on my channel. And if you're in a position where you're not getting that, Cancer, you just shut down, right? You end up falling into other ways to kind of excite the mind space, to excite that inner sanctum. So the shadow side of Cancer, right, obviously being ruled by the moon, you know, often people can end up going into, you know, emotional states, suffering from depression, suffering from substance dependency, you know, all of those things. And obviously that isn't, you know, just specific to your sign, but being ruled by the moon, right, your emotions can so easily be passionate about stuff, right? So when any passion or inspiration or anything gets pulled from you, it's almost like, you know, you retreat into your shell. And some people do that in a variety of different ways, right? So it's almost like, Cancer, you've been very conscious recently. And this is why, you know, we have this beautiful card of, you know, that can also represent success here. Consciously recently, you've sort of become aware of your own behaviors or your own habits or your own patterns. And you've noticed that something's unhealthy in it, something is polluted, and it might have took literally a physical ailment in your body to come to the surface. That's kind of like just shifted your whole worldview now, right? Okay. And it's like, Cancer's like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. I'm following this new path, right? I'm following the rainbow to find the pot of gold at the end. And, you know, the pot of gold can almost be, you know, going back to here, right? This solar plexus energy. Solar plexus is basically our expression of ourself and of our passions, right? It's that like sunshine element within us. And it's like, right, however I've been living up until this point has been mechanical. I've been on autopilot. I've been in zombie mode. I've been eating the wrong things, drinking the wrong stuff, hanging out with the wrong people, feeding my mind all the wrong things. However this manifests for you, Cancer. And now it's like, right, where's that inspiration gone that I used to have? Where's that magic? Where's that passion for life and for just anything? Because I feel like whichever Cancer I'm connecting with here, obviously it is a general reading, but it feels like a group of Cancers that you've just lost your love of life recently, and that's maybe led you into habits that you're not particularly proud of. But it's okay, Cancer, because you're never ever past the point of having a fresh start, right? You're never ever too late to completely shift your way of thinking, the way of treating your body, the way of moving through the world, the way of you treating other people. We are constantly evolving and constantly on a path of evolution, right? Do not feel like, oh, I'm 40 years old, I've always been this way, so I have to stay this way. That is, to be quite frank, right? And you know that, Cancer. And, you know, I think the most important thing is to just surround yourself with good people, right? People who support your changes, people who support the best version of you, and don't try and drag you into behaviors that aren't healthy or are destructive or that aren't good for yourself, right? And if you're, you know, someone who just likes your alone company, you don't particularly have a wide social circle, maybe you're an introvert or whatever, then this is down to you, right? Just encouraging yourself. Don't be disheartened. You can literally rise from any ash at any point in any of your transformation, right? You're the phoenix. You can literally just reignite and rebirth yourself whenever is needed, okay? So, Cancer, I'm so proud of you for making these personal changes, whatever they are. And, you know, going back to the whole some sort of toxicity or pollutant or whatever, if it is expressing itself in your body, then, you know, if you're not currently aware of what the cause might be, obviously you always seek healthcare professionals, holistic remedies and that, but, you know, also do your research, look at what you're eating. You know, if it's something like an ailment that's manifested, if it's something like a physical injury, you know, look at ways to strengthen your muscles, strengthen certain parts of your body, relax your body with stretches, you know, all that good stuff, right? But just don't be disheartened, Cancer, because whatever change has shifted in your life currently and whatever direction you're headed in is so much better than before, right? So much better than before. And they're all proud of you, Cancer. Right, I'll leave it there, Cancer. I send you lots of love and light, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye, Cancer.